Hi guys, this is MF again, and today I'm making this video for accommodation part, specifically meant for London. I'll be discussing few things, not too much as it was yesterday. I tried to cover a lot, but today it's just gonna be for accommodation. I know a lot of you must be struggling finding a good accommodation which is reasonable as well as strategically placed, like in terms of distance and in terms of amenities that the accommodations are surrounded with. So, and again, I should be mentioning this thing that the information provided in this video is based on my personal experience and is made for the informational purpose only, just to guide you guys to make your life or transition a little bit easier. Yes, so that is pretty much it about the introduction. And yes, I should be mentioning that it's comparatively hotter than it was yesterday, so the weather fluctuates pretty much here. Yes, so coming back to the accommodation part, so first thing that you should be thinking of is the platforms what are the different platforms that you should be searching accommodation on. For example, Facebook Marketplace is there. Then there is a website called Spare Room. Then Rightmove, idealflatmate.co.uk. Then there's Gumtree. I mean, there are multiple. If you just Google it, like flats in London or rooms for rent in London, so you'll have plenty of stuff coming up. So you can see, check, do some random search, try to send messages. Not try, but you should definitely send messages to the agents, to the landlords. Out of these, my preference would be Spare Room or Facebook Marketplace, because that is where I have so far I've seen that there's a high possibility that you'll be getting in touch with the landlords directly, and just bypassing those agents or agencies from the other platforms. But yes, it depends on your luck and how much do you search, how extensively you are searching. So you can search all those platforms, and there is nothing that I should be sticking upon like this is the only platform that you should be looking at. So you can do random search, do whatever, send messages to the people, and all the details. They'll be asking you for details like what your what your visa status is, when are you coming, your moving date, what's your budget, and all sort of stuff. So you should be good at that. But what you should be considering, like a few important things that you should be considering while looking for an accommodation. First is like how reasonable it is for you. Definitely it matters a lot, and the expenses are, the rent is it's going up. It's going up every month, I believe, and it is expected to go up by November or January. That is what I got to know yesterday from a couple of agencies. So the rent part is definitely important for all of us. Then second should be the proximity of the accommodation from to your university, like how far is it from your university. So if you're willing to travel for 2 hours, you might be getting a reasonable or a decent accommodation at a reasonable price. But if you try to look for an accommodation which is quite closer to your university or university campus, it's going to be definitely expensive. So it's not a usual practice unless you are really willing to spend money on your rent and living stuff. So it's up to you, but majority of students prefer to stay away from campus so that they can find a decent accommodation. As far as traveling is concerned, London, there is no problem in London. You'll have buses, you'll have trains, tubes running 24/7, almost 24/7, especially the buses. So that should not be a problem for you. So the proximity, the rent, and you should also be considering while you are making queries, you should also be asking the person whether you are an agent or the landlord. So in case if the agency or the agent is involved, definitely you should expect that they'll be charging some processing fees or service charges from you, which can go up anywhere between 100 to 200 or even more than that, depending upon what sort of property it is and how much the rent is. So you can expect that from the agents and agency. If it's landlord, then definitely there is no agency fee, and you can just straight away pay the rent and pay the deposit, and you can book your accommodation. When it comes to paying the money, that is a bit tricky part for all of us. It was for me also, because I don't want to scare you, but the market is filled with spammers. So you might end up paying money to somebody who is not even in charge of a property, neither a landlord nor an agent. So they try to con you over different platforms, provide us with your so and so details, and then we can let you know, and this is the amount, or the holding deposit that you'll have to pay to hold this property, something like that. So it happens. I'm not saying it's not genuine, but it's sometimes they might even try to con you that way. So I would suggest, just to bypass this thing, I would suggest that you guys should be looking for a temporary accommodation. If you know somebody here, if you've got relatives, siblings, or your friends, whosoever lives here, you can let them know if they can just go and visit the property, see the property is there or not, or who the person is, the one who is dealing with the property, just to check, like, the genuineness of the property and the person, so that you'll be at peace while paying the money, because it's a good amount of money. They'll be most of the time they'll be asking for the rent as well as for the deposit. It can vary. If a landlord is lenient, they can ask you for deposit just for 2 weeks. So rent for 1 month and deposit for 2 weeks. If not that, then rent for 1 month and 1 month of deposit. So it's going to be a big amount. So that is what you can do. And yes, I mean, you should try to get into some sort of formal agreement, because if you just go for an accommodation which is there, pay and stay, you won't be having any proof that you have paid the money to a person for a particular property. So at the end of the day, that person can say that I've not received the money, who are you? So such sort of things can happen. So when it comes to money, always try to look for some paperwork, unless you have somebody over here. So while you are booking this accommodation and staying in your country, you should be asking for a formal agreement, or some formal formalities which gives you a proof that yes, you have booked in this accommodation in this area with this address, and the person in charge is ABC, whosoever it is. So that is one thing. I know it's really going to be a big challenge for all of you, but I've just figured it. I've figured it out that based on my personal experience, instead of going for a long-term tenancy, you try to look for two things: either book for a short-term tenancy, or just look whether the short-term tenancy is possible or not. Because when you come here, you might end up searching for some other property, or you'll see that this property is not worth of staying for long, so you would like to move on to some other place. So that is where it's helpful to go for a short-term tenancy. If that is not possible, I would suggest look for a decent, reasonable, as well as cheap hotels to some nearby areas, like to your campus, or if you know somebody, just ask them if they can figure out some hotels. So you try to stay there in hotels maybe for 3 to 5 days, and within those 5 days you'll have to travel extensively when you come here to look for an accommodation, because properties goes really quickly here, especially for the September intake, since a lot of students are expected to come, and they would be coming for sure. So once you are here staying in the hotels, those, or temporary accommodations, start your travel extensively in different areas. I would suggest don't be sticky when it comes to finding accommodation. Like I've got to know a couple of students, they are saying we would like to stay closer to the university. Either the property is expensive or it goes really quickly, so by the time you are here, or by the time you search it, it might have gone. So always try to look away from your campus, so competition is less, demand is less, so chances of getting that accommodation would be more. So hotel is another option, short-term tenancy is one. Then there are other stuff as well, such as Airbnb and all those things. I personally do not know much about that, but I've got to know that it's expensive too. So look for a cheap hotels, just to put your luggage in and start searching the moment you step in to the UK. So that is about paying, looking for accommodation, different platforms. Yes, and you can seek help from your university as well, although the chances are highly likely that they won't be able to provide you with an accommodation, especially in London. But what they can do, they can provide you with some links which even they say that they are not associated with. So you'll be back to Google. So it's something like you're searching on Google or searching on internet. So more or less, even the university people might not be able to help you. That is what I perceive. So this is it, and what I'll do, I'll provide with all the details, like all the platforms that are available for finding an accommodation. And if you have got any specific question, still you are having some concern, you can write that in the comment box. What I'll do, I'll either try to revert on your comments or try to make another video specifically for that part of your concern. And yes, that is it for today. Best of luck.